There's two stories at the moment. Well, there's actually three stories at the moment about control. And the first story is about the AI conference and Rishi Sunak urging companies to take moral responsibility for their use of AI and their development of AI. And I hope that means that he's going to recognize that it's not the the role of some particular Secretary of State to decide this or this is not allowed. Because I think we've demonstrated in the COVID crisis that there isn't a Secretary of State who has that moral authority or that competence. And that takes us to the COVID inquiry, where Lord Simon Stevens was being asked about what would happen if the NHS was overwhelmed. And he wrote, the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, that's Matt Hancock, took the position that in this situation he, rather than say a medical professioner, the medical profession or the public should ultimately decide who should live and who should die. Fortunately, this horrible dilemma never crystallized. It is simply shocking that Matt Hancock should have that level of arrogance to think that he was in the position of judge and jury. In a similar way that, of course, Suella Braverman now believes that's how that's her job, her remit with regard to protests on the street. That is outrageous too. That she should decide that this is a hate march, this is an acceptable march, this march should be done in silence, this march should be done. This is not her remit. This is not her job. She is overreaching, and this is beyond the authority. When the next Labour government gets into power, we must have some sort of constitutional agreement that we have a right to protest. Now, I personally do not think marching in the street does any good because of Suella Braverman, because of the power that has been gathered to the Home Office, not only in this country but in other countries, where actually marches are emasculated. They're simply a form of a mass get-together where people who share the same view can feel that camaraderie. I don't believe they are in a position now to challenge the authorities, as they might have done right up until the 1990s. Today, they lack that power, and it doesn't matter how large those forces are that go out on marches. We need to find a different way to protest. That's really the point. I'm not saying, I'm not criticizing people who protest. I'm simply saying that governments don't take any notice of it anymore. And we have so many laws controlling what happens, and the police kettling everybody and all this sort of stuff. We need a different way. And with social media and with access to with access to different communication tools, the march was simply a way to draw attention to an issue. We have other ways of drawing attention to an issue, and perhaps we're not making use of them. Perhaps we're focused on this solution rather than looking at the problem and saying, well, there may be other solutions now to this problem. We want to make our voice heard. How do we do it? In the past, yes, we get together in large numbers and we march. Today, maybe there are other ways of getting a loud voice out. Writing a petition, again, that doesn't do anything because that too is sidelined. At the very most, you get a desultory debate in Westminster Hall. It's not going to do anything. And this is rather like being sent to the complaints department in a business. It's a way of paying lip service to dissent and then getting on for the government to then get on and do whatever it intended to do in the first place. So I think Matt Hancock's position is terrifying, Suella Braverman's position is equally terrifying. We need to ensure that we have a proper right to protest in the future. We need to ensure that no Secretary of State ever gets the power of life and death. And it doesn't matter what crisis we're facing. That should never be even considered. That should never be considered, and certainly not Matt Hancock. I was tempted to do a Matt Hancock impression. I cannot with the seriousness of that story.